that very moment, it doesn't make as much sense as it may when I had it all in my head, all by myself. Y'all hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
We can make things make sense when we're the only ones thinking about it. Chris, I want to pick on you again. Do you know who David Copperfield is?
Yes.
The magician. I'm going to ask you a question. Do you really believe that he made the Eiffel Tower disappear? No? Yes? No?
I'm torn.
You're torn?
No, it was an illusion. He did not.
Okay, because we've got counselors in the house tonight. No, it was an illusion. It was an illusion. Right? We all know that. You know, David Copperfield's made $1 billion doing magic shows. I've never been to this magic show. I have no intention of going because I know it's a trick. It's a trick. In fact, a few years ago, he was in Vegas. He was going to make 13 people disappear on the stage on Friday the 13th. Ooh. Well, one of the people got hurt when they fell through the stage and crawled through the rebar and cut the man upside the head. So he sued David Copperfield. And Copperfield's attorneys were trying to keep the schematics from being presented in the court of law, because if they are, you're an attorney, you'll find those schematics, and they mean you're going to go hit the road and do tricks like that. You know, hey, I can do exactly like it's a trick. Here's my point. Suicide is the David Copperfield of your mind. Think about it that way. It's an illusion. It's a trick on your mind. And if we know how the trick works, it doesn't have any more power over us. Y'all hear what I'm saying? It's a trick on our mind. Fourth core value, life is filled with questions, isn't it? More so than ever before, especially the past 5 years, right? Are you going to wear the mask to the reunion? Well, no, Grandma, I don't wear the mask. Well, then you can't come to the reunion. Families are being split up over all these political and stuff, division. My 11-year, she's 13 now. When she was 11, my granddaughter, they live in a house right behind us, and she got off the school bus and she came over and she knows I was in the military, and she said, "Papa Lou, what's a nuclear bomb?" Baby girl, what you asking me that for? That's what we were studying today in social studies. And it made me and my friend cry, and people made fun of us. What does it do? Well, it's not a good thing. That's a question, isn't it? A lot of teenagers today don't believe they're going to live to be 30 years old. They question life. They question the future. Life is full of questions today. But some questions are full of life. And suicide is that question. So do this with me tonight. Say this. Are you having thoughts of suicide?
Are you having thoughts of suicide?
Just ask it. Not frantically. Not like, everybody here know who Barney is from Andy Griffith? Don't be like Barney. Be like Andy Griffith. Just ask the question, are you having thoughts of suicide? Say it with me one more time.
Are you having thoughts of suicide?
If they are having thoughts of suicide and we've taken time to build rapport, they will tell you that they're having thoughts of suicide because they don't want to die. They just feel hopeless. And the fact that you're willing to ask that question is where the installation of hope is planted. And a little seed, what does the Bible say? Faith is a mustard seed. It can move mountains, right? If we're willing to ask that question, it can transform their thoughts. It's no longer a secret. It doesn't make sense anymore. I really do want to live, and you are giving them that hope. Does that resonate with anybody?
Yeah.
All right. Fifth core value. Oh, by the way, anybody ever seen this picture before?
Yeah.
How many of y'all see the elderly vagabond lady? Have a few? How many of y'all see the lady in a necklace headed to the premiere?
Oh, yeah.
How many of y'all would admit y'all don't see squat? I don't know why I put that picture up there, but it's funny. You know, it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. For about the first 5 years that I was teaching this, I thought I coined that phrase, so I Googled it, and I found out Henry David Thoreau actually said it first. So I like to give credit where credit's due. He wrote it in a book called Walden. He was not writing about suicide, he was just talking about the philosophies of life. He wrote it while he was sitting on a pond of a friend by the name of Edgar Allan Poe. Anybody ever heard of him? And so this book is 150, 200 years old. He said it first. I don't know why he said it. I haven't read the book. It wasn't about suicide. But it's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. Now let me put it in context for you. I have been to many funeral homes before because someone died of suicide. I didn't know that they were going to take their life. I hadn't talked to them in years. One of the richest men in my hometown took his life in 2013, I believe it was. And I had to stand in line for 2.5 hours. I think the lieutenant governor was there, all these dignitaries. And people that know what I do, they came up to me and they said, "We didn't see this coming. We didn't see this coming." Did you hear me? We didn't see this coming. And then the next question, would you have seen this coming? I don't know. I can't say definitively. I haven't talked to the man in 4 years, 5 years. I think I saw him at a Christmas party. But knowing what I know today, I would have been in a conversation with him. He'd lost several $1 million in a real estate deal. His daughter was about to get married. He's 56 years old. He's going through midlife crisis. A lot of stuff going on. So I would have been engaging him in a conversation. Unfortunately, I didn't know what was going on in his life. It's not what you look at that matters, it's what you see. You know, it sounds like there's a lot of people from the faith community here tonight. I would say this. We need to have eyes to see and ears to hear what people around us don't see and hear. And if you do that, you will save lives. Let's go to the next one. The prudent see danger. That's Proverbs chapter 22, verse 3. The prudent see danger. My wife says that I am hyper vigilant. I don't think I am. Maybe I am. I did have to have a stent put in last year. But even, I made arrangements to get on a flight this afternoon. I changed my plan. Did I tell you that, Ron? So I said I want to be in the aisle seat in the back of the plane so that I can see everybody. That's just the way I am. I don't want to sit near the window. I don't need to look out the window. I want to be able to act if I need to act. So that's maybe a little bit hypervigilant, but that's just because I hang out with a lot of law enforcement. So that's the way they are. They go to a restaurant and they sit with their back to the wall. They want to see everybody coming through the door. But we do need to be vigilant because there's a lot of hurting people around us. And we need to be aware. So if not me, then who? If not you, then who? Who's going to look out for someone who's hurting? Risk are in the circumstances of life a person finds himself in. It does not mean the person is thinking of suicide. It just simply means that the potential is there. So in other words, every person, we're not cookie cutters. You can't say that because this person's going through these things and they're having thoughts of suicide, and this person's going through the same thing, they're also having thoughts of suicide. It doesn't work that way. I had a first sergeant in the military that was getting a divorce. I have had colonels that were getting divorces and they were suicidal. But I had an E3, a young 21-year-old E3, and I asked him if he was suicidal. And he said a few expletives. He said, "Heck no, sir. I made a mistake. I should have never married her. She signed the divorce papers finally. I'm going to have a keg party tonight if you want to come bless the keg for me. But no, I'm not suicidal." And so you can't assume that everybody's suicidal, but we still need to be in a conversation with them, right? Just to check. And they'll tell you, "No, sir, I'm not." What's that next one? Think a kid's making a pound cake, and I know that doesn't make sense, so I want to put it to you this way. What are the ingredients in a pound cake? Anybody? Y'all make pound cakes here in Hawaii?
Sugar.
So flour, eggs, sugar, butter, baking powder. In Georgia, we put a pound of love in it. What else? Is that enough? Oh, what about vanilla?
Yes,
Vanilla.
vanilla.
So I had a 17-year-old that took his life 2 days before school let out in May, 10 years ago. And so the parents of his friends, they got us together and they wanted to do a debrief to keep their kids safe. And so all the parents were saying, we didn't see this coming, we didn't see this coming. But there was one parent that wasn't there that I thought would be there with their son. And I asked the host, I said, where are they at? And she said, well, I talked to her last night. And she said, we don't need to come to something like that because our child would never have thoughts of suicide. What? His best friend just killed himself. That's like saying my child doesn't know how to make a pound cake. So here's what we need to understand. That doesn't make sense to you either. Let me explain it to you. How many ingredients does it take to make a mess? One. So, how many ingredients were in this kid's life? On the counter of his life. So now here we are, we're having to do forensics instead of suicide intervention. I hate forensics. And there's actually a science, it's called suicide forensics. I hate that. Because now we're trying to figure out what happened. Well, number one, he's a teenager. So that's the number 2 cause of death is suicide. Number 2 is mom and dad were getting divorced. Would that put somebody at risk? Possibly, yeah. Number 3, he can't stay in the same school district because he lives in ritzy Peachtree City, and now he's got to move 90 miles away in his senior year. Does that put him at risk? Number 4, you think his 15-year-old girlfriend's going to stay with him? He lives 90 miles away. That's in question, right? Number 5, is he going to be first string on the football team? No, that was decided last year. He might get to play some, but he's not going to be first string. Number 6, is his mom going to let him keep his cool job as the black belt instructor for the little green belts, where he'd earned his belt on Saturdays? You know, you're not driving 90 miles to make $5. It's not going to happen. Number 7, Dad's not just leaving the house, he's moving to Switzerland. And his prefrontal cortex, which is not fully developed, Dad must really hate me. That makes sense. Y'all have heard that one before. How many ingredients does it take to make a mess?
1.
He was eat up. And all the parents were saying, we didn't see this coming. We didn't see this coming. And one big, tall, red-headed kid, about 6'4", he jumped up and said, shut up. And the mother said, what's wrong, son? He told me he was going to kill himself. He showed me where he's going to kill himself. And I tried all weekend to talk him out of it. And I thought I had solved the problem. And he killed himself Monday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning. That was 10 years ago. Last year, one of the mothers was in my class. And I was almost hesitant to ask her, how's Big Red doing? That's what I call him. She said, he's doing good. He's still alive. He's in the military now. He had to go through a lot of counseling, but he's still alive. And I think that you coming that day and talking with him one-on-one after that happened is what helped him. So thank you. I was scared to ask her, but I'm so glad that I did. All right, let's go to the next one. So think of signs versus circumstances. Signs, that's like the sign in your yard when you're selling your house. There's a sign. Signs are the things that people say or do. It's the words, it's the actions, it's breaking up with your girlfriend. That's a sign. I don't want to be around her anymore. Exactly how the Bible's described it. He was spiraling downward. Isaiah said, woe is me, I'm undone. Even in the New Testament, I would have, if I'd been a contemporary of the Apostle Paul, I would have said, Paul, are you having thoughts of suicide? He would have corrected me. I don't think he was. But just based on what he was saying, I would have had a conversation with him. Because he said, I'd much rather go on and be with the Lord. Paul, what does that mean? Right? Well, no, I'm not suicidal. I'm going to stick around, but gee whiz, how many of us are ready for the Lord to come back, right? So don't use faith to shame or condemn people. That's not going to help. Their faith already feels like they've been kicked in the gut, so don't do that. So what do? Go to the next one. If you're going to use faith, use it like the instrument that it is. The Word of God is very sharp. It's very powerful. And in the hands of a skilled person, it's called a scalpel. And it'll save your life. And in the hands of a prisoner behind bars, it's called a shank. And it's used to kill people. And that's what toxic faith is all about. It's used to just rip people to shreds. But the faith that God wants from us is the faith that lifts people up and strengthens them and makes them better. That's the kind of faith we need. All right, let's go to the next one. So how do I know? How do I know where a person stands? Well, I ask them, do you have a faith background? If they say no, I say, okay, when was the last time your life had purpose? I'm not there to beat them up right now. How has your faith helped you in the past, through challenges in the past? I had a young man who said he didn't go to church after the age of 10. His grandmother died. The dad had been praying for his mom. She died, so he quit taking the kids to church after that. And the boy hadn't been in church in 10 years. Or he was 20 years old, so when he was 10, they quit going to church. I said, well, when was the last time you really felt like your faith got you through something? He said, it was that time. He said, when my grandmother died, my dad quit believing, but my grandfather came out and we were all sitting outside, all the cousins, and my granddad said, boys, let me pray for you. I know you miss your grandmother, but let me pray for you. And he had a great faith, even though his wife had died, my grandmother had died. And I think about that a lot. I said, well, you got your granddaddy's DNA. It's still in you. Why don't we just dig down and try to find that again and bring that back to life? I believe there's more than one way that God is in the resurrection business. I really do. He can resurrect faith that we thought was dead. When was there a time when you really felt like your life had purpose? So, if I've got a person who says, I don't believe in that stuff, that faith stuff, well, here's the bottom line. Everybody's got faith in something. We wouldn't have gotten in our cars and come here tonight if we didn't have faith that the guy on the other side of the road would stay on the side of the road. We've all got faith in something. But I don't push it. I just say, when was the last time your life had purpose? I had a young man, he was actually a little bit younger than me, so he was young. But I said, when was the last time your life had purpose? He said, when I was coaching Little League Baseball. Oh, you're not doing that anymore? No, my kids grew up. So what are your kids doing now? Well, I got one son that's playing ball at Georgia Tech. I got another that's a high school baseball coach. And then I got another that plays for minor league ball for Milwaukee. Wow. What? You must have been a really good coach, right? Mm-hmm. And in a few years, you might be able to teach your grandkids. That's the dream that I have. I got a 5-year-old son, the grandson, and I taught all my boys. I would love the opportunity to teach my grandkids, coach them. You ever thought about that? He said, I didn't really think about that. Well, guess what he's doing today?
Coaching the grandkids.
He's coaching his grandkids. He said, it's worth it to stay alive. I want to be able to coach my grandkids. He found his purpose again. So he didn't even claim to be a believer. But here's the thing. Even the atheist believes in something. And when they stop believing, they kill themselves. In fact, it's not just that. When our body doesn't seem to have a purpose anymore, our body dies. It's called psychogenic death. It's the will to live. When you have no will to live, your body dies. My youngest son, who's the firefighter, he sees this quite often. Last time I heard him talking about it was back during Christmas. He was trying to resuscitate a 90-something-year-old lady She'd been married to the same man for 60 plus years. The man standing there in the corners praying and crying, please save my wife. And he couldn't save the lady. She died. And so my son stood up and looked at the man. He was about to say, I'm so sorry. And the man dropped dead right there on the floor. They couldn't get him back. There was no pulse. There was no heartbeat. He was gone. His will to live was gone. It's called psychogenic death. She was his purpose. The Bible says without purpose, we perish. So we all have some type of purpose. And if we can help somebody who's hurting to realize your life has purpose, then they will continue to live. My father died when I was 26 years old, but he got cancer when I was 16 years old, and they gave him 3 months to live. I asked him about a week before he died, I said, Dad, why now? And he said, I have fulfilled my purpose. I got you married off. I got your sister married off. Your mother's going to be just fine. And I'm tired. I'm ready to see the Lord. And he died. He went into coma 2 weeks before Easter, 1989. And 3 days before Easter, he woke up and he said, son, what day is it? I said, Thursday. He went, and he went back to sleep. And he died Easter Sunday morning. He knew when he wanted to go, how he wanted to go. He fulfilled his purpose. That should be the way it is for all of us. Are you fulfilling your purpose? Do you know what your purpose is? That's one of the other discussions I have. I have with people all the time. I'm going to go ahead and share it with you. Because I sense that this is a heavily faith community. And if you're not part of the faith community, maybe this will help you out tonight. But what is your purpose? And what is my purpose? I ask that with people. Before I retired from the military, the 2-star that I worked for said, Chaplain, have you got any word for us? And we were sitting around the conference table with all the staff. And I was part of the special staff. And I looked at everybody and said, what's your purpose? And we went around the room, and one of the people said, I want to make Command Sergeant Major. One said, I began to see where I was going. She said, I want to be a good mom. And they all said something. And then the general looked at me and said, well, Chaplain, what's your purpose? I said, my purpose and your purpose are the same. God forbid something should happen to your kids. What happens to your purpose if you're a mother? Maybe you don't make Command Sergeant Major. What happens to your purpose then? And the general said, well, what's our purpose? And I said, my purpose and your purpose is to glorify God. How we do that is part of our mission. And that's where we have a strategy. I don't have time to get into all of that tonight. But my purpose is to glorify God. And if I know that, then I stay alive as long as He's wanting me to. And when I die, whether I live or die, it's all for the glory of God. Y'all hear what I'm saying?